Now there's an article I found. The rabbi links President Trump to King David. Says that he's preparing the way for Messiah. Now how many people knew that this happened, okay? A prominent rabbi in Jerusalem has found a mysterious connection between President Trump and King David that may herald unfolding biblical prophecy. He says the signs first became evident during President Trump's election campaign in improbable victory. Quote, King David also had to overcome great opposition in order to establish his kingship. Rabbi Yosef Berger told Breaking Israel News. Trump connected to that. This cycle was completed when the president recognized Jerusalem as the true capital of the Jewish people, just as King David did. Rabbi Berger's the rabbi overseeing King David's tomb on Mount Zion, and the son of a respectful Hasidic leader. Now remember, Jared Kushner is a Hasidic sect of Judaism. In September of 2016, during the fury and heat of the presidential campaign, Republicans organized an event in the old city of Jerusalem on behalf of Trump. It was logistically far more difficult to arrange an event in the old city, but we wanted to connect with the heart of Jerusalem, Mark Zell, chairman of Republican Overseas Israel, told BIN. The organizers chose an unlikely catering hall overlooking the Temple Mount for their event. What they didn't know when they planned the event was that the site chosen was situated directly over the actual burial place of King David, a holy site in a cluster of caves where several other kings and prophets had been buried. During the event, pre-recorded speeches by Trump and his running mate Mike Pence were viewed on a large screen. At that point in the campaign, no one thought Trump had any chance of winning the presidency. Rabbi Berger believes this event established the future president's link with King David, helped him win the election, but also set him on an even more auspicious path. Donald Trump in Gematria, Hebrew numerology, equals 424, which is the same as Mashiach ben David, Messiah from the house of David. Rabbi Berger explained, this certainly does not mean he will be the Messiah, but it indicates that he will play a role in preparing the way for the arrival of the Messiah. He clearly has this inclination. Why else would he have a campaign event overlooking the Temple Mount? No other presidential candidate has done this. Rabbi Yosef Berger looks on as his Torah for the Messiah is completed. Now, that's one thing that they already did. They made a Torah scroll for the Messiah, which they are going to give to him. And of course, we know that they're making a crown for the Messiah to give him to honor him. And we know that that's not going to be Jesus in their minds. But I want to carry on with this here. Rabbi Berger is also intrigued by the fact that the presidential seal of the United States contains the bald eagle. He says the eagle plays into end-time prophecy. Quote, the eagle represents the house of David. The eagle was not permitted near the covenant with Abraham at the time. But in the end of days, the Messiah from the house of David will stand up before all the other nations and bring them to David's city in order to complete the covenant with Abraham. That's the covenant that we're talking about, I think, in Daniel's prophecy. That when all this comes together, and they make the 7-year peace deal, and it coincides with bringing the sacrifice, the blood sacrifice, and all of that, the purification, all of it's together in one unit. But it's happening a little at a time, okay? So this completion of the covenant with Abraham will happen. Trump, under the sign of the eagle, opened the way for the other nations who are now coming to Jerusalem and opening their embassies in preparation for the Messiah, Rabbi Berger said. While the Jewish people await the first appearing of Messiah, Christians eagerly await the second coming of Messiah Jesus. Actually, we're waiting for the rapture to happen at any moment. Rabbi Berger also thinks that President Trump, the master builder, will play a role in the construction of Israel's third temple. As we know that he's on the coins of the half shekel with Cyrus, the king. Some rabbinical sources say the third temple will be built by the descendants of Edom, a phrase that in latter rabbinical literature refers to the Christian world. Of course, he's talking about Rome. The Hebrew word Edom means red and is derived from the name of its founder Esau, the elder son of the Hebrew patriarch Isaac, because he was born red all over. As a young adult, he sold his birthright to his brother Jacob. Now, President Trump was derided in the campaign because of the shade of his hair, which had an orange-reddish hue. Rabbi Berger explained, no leader in history has recognized Jerusalem as the capital of the Jews in Israel. Trump is the representative of Edom that will perform that final historic reparation for his entire nation by building the temple. So I find this kind of amusing that they're just kind of lumping everybody in the United States as Edom. Really? I highly doubt that. I mean, you've got Jews that go to church, you've got Jews in the Roman Catholic Church, you've got, all kinds of people. But Trump is supposed to make reparations for the destruction of the temple. Give me a break. Now, there was another article about the Trump-King David connection and how it connects with Abraham's covenant. And let's see, this article was written May 23rd, 2018. And it basically tells the same story about how they arranged this event in the Old City and they wanted to connect with the heart of Jerusalem. The chairman, Mark Zell, of Republican Overseas Israel, organized the event where he served as master of ceremonies. U.S. Ambassador to Israel David Friedman, who was an advisor to Trump at the time, spoke and referred to the site established by King David 3,000 years ago as a holy venue. He quoted King David in Psalm 128, which referenced the site. May Hashem bless you from Zion. May you share the prosperity of Yerushalayim all the days of your life. This happened the same week the UN, Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, passed a resolution erasing any connection between the Jews and the Temple Mount. I'm going to skip ahead in the article. Another powerful hint of the president's role in the messianic process appears in the presidential seal he was awarded the rights to in that election, which is the bald eagle. And the rabbis explained that an eagle figures prominently in the end of days prophecy, and it says, quote, when Abraham performed the covenant of the pieces described in the 15th chapter of Genesis, an ayit, an eagle, as a bird of prey appeared, Rabbi Berger said. Birds of prey, the eagle, came down upon the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. Rabbi Berger cited an explanation of this mystical covenant written by Rabbi Shlomo Yitzhaki, an 11th century French Torah scholar who is known by the acronym Rashi. Rashi explained that all of the animals whose carcasses were split for that covenant represented the other nations, but the birds that remained whole represented Israel. Rabbi Berger said the eagle represents the house of David. The eagle was not permitted near the covenant with Abraham at the time. But in the end of days, the Messiah from the house of David will stand up before all other nations and bring them to David's city in order to complete the covenant with Abraham. So the eagle will be there in the last days. Trump, under the sign of the eagle, open the way for the other nations who are now coming to Jerusalem and opening their embassies in preparation for the Messiah, Rabbi Berger said. Now, just take what they're saying right there about that he's representing the eagle and that all of Trump's nation are paying reparations to them. Let's go to Ezekiel 39:4 and see how this plays out. On the mountains of Israel you will fall, you and all your troops, and the nations with you. I will give you as food to every kind of ravenous bird and wild beast. Isaiah 34:6. The sword of the Lord is bathed in blood. It drips with fat, with the blood of lambs and goats, and with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord has a sacrifice in Bozrah, a great slaughter in the land of Edom. Ezekiel 39:17. And thou, son of man, thus saith the Lord God, speak unto every feathered fowl, and to every beast of the field, assemble yourselves, and come, gather yourselves on every side to my sacrifice, that I do sacrifice for you, even a great sacrifice upon the mountains of Israel, that ye may eat flesh and drink blood. Now that connects to Matthew 24's prophecy and Luke 17:37. Luke 17:37 says, in answering they say to him, Where, Lord? And he said to them, Where the body is, there the eagles will be gathered together. Now is this making more sense? Matthew 24:28. For wherever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. For wherever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. So, they're saying that the covenant is going to be completed, the covenant of Abraham, and the eagle plays a big major role. And now we see how that connects to Matthew 24 and Luke 17:37 and these other things about troops that come in that are eaten by birds. I'm just basically piecing all of this together. Now, why would you have Donald Trump be over the tomb of King David and talk about that his kingship is similar? Are they planning to make Trump their king? I mean, this is just one option that's out there. One quote from this another article is the same rabbi then explained America's role in this prophetic process. He says, quote, the third part of Esau is America, the part that seeks pleasure. Now, another piece of this puzzle is in this article that says Trump is messianic figure, UN is Gog. Prominent Israeli rabbi says January 10th, 2018. Rabbi Mendel Kessin, a rabbi who interprets modern events from a Torah perspective, gave a lecture 2 weeks ago in Jerusalem. This was last January, in which he emphatically stated that U.S. President Donald Trump is bringing the world closer to the Messiah. Quote, the messianic process is unfolding literally in front of our eyes, Rabbi Kessin said, giving the last U.S. presidential election as proof. Trump's election was a revealed miracle. He shouldn't have won since all the politicians and many Americans hated him more than any president before in American history. Well, I disagree with that statement. They hate him because he will cause Satan to die in America. They don't want this to happen, and this is why they don't want him to help Israel. But Trump is greater than that. The rabbi explained that Trump's declaration that Jerusalem was Israel's capital and the ensuing international fervor over it was the fulfillment of biblical prophecy specifying what he called the tikkun, fixing of Esau. Quote, when Esau is seen helping Israel, it's a sign Mashiach is right around the corner, Rabbi Kessin said. In explanation, Rabbi Kessin quoted the Bible concerning the prophesied fate of Jacob and Esau, told to their mother Rivkah. Quote, he explained, Esau will help Jacob by either serving him or causing him to suffer, since suffering is a way to bring God back into the world. Rabbi Kessin stated that this prophecy did not materialize in the Bible, but is destined to come about in the era preceding Messiah. In the end, Esau will do a tikkun by defending Jacob, fighting the nations that come against him, Rabbi Kessin said. The rabbi stated that Israel and the Jewish people are the descendants of Jacob, But Esau's identity in modern times is more complex. Esau is also a patriarch. He became the nation of Edom, which eventually became Rome, Rabbi Kessin said, and then it transformed into a religion, Christianity, so that it would spread out into the world. Well, let me just say right here, wrong, incorrect. All of Jesus came from Jerusalem, came from Nazareth in the Galilee, was born in Bethlehem of Judea. How can you possibly say that Christianity started in Rome? It didn't. And all of the Jewish disciples that followed Jesus, that spread the gospel of his covenant into the whole world, came from Jews. Quote, Christianity has spent an inordinate amount of energy persecuting Jews, though not all of Esau did this, Kessin stated. He stated that in its Christian incarnation, 3 different aspects of Esau developed into 3 separate national entities. The arrogance of Esau became Russia under the communists, Rabbi Kessin said, citing the decidedly anti-religious aspect of communism. The ultimate arrogance is when a man becomes an atheist and says there's no God. There's only me. The fraudulent aspect of Esau is Europe. He said, on one hand they preach love, while on the other hand they have more wars than any other part of the world. He noted that much of this fake love resulted in suffering for Israel. The Holocaust, the Inquisition, this is all fraudulent piety. Well, you know, a lot more people died in the Holocaust than just Jews. Millions of non-Jews also died, and also in the Inquisition. I think if something like 50 million Christians died in the Inquisition. To this day, European nations are incredibly anti-Semitic. They can't hide it or hold back. They just keep coming out against Israel. The rabbi then explained America's role in this prophetic process. So here's what they're planning. You can just interpret it as that. The third part of Esau is America. And of course, you know, it says, Jacob I have loved, Esau I have hated. So America is apparently hated according to these people. The third part of Esau is America, the part that seeks pleasure, Rabbi Kessin said. But this is the good part of Esau. In the end of days, this is the part of Esau that will be restored by helping Jacob. Therefore, there has come a time before Mashiach when this good part of Esau does repentance by helping Israel. Donald Trump is that man, that part of Esau, Kessin said. He doesn't know it, and he wouldn't believe it, but he is a messianic figure. Can I just read that line one more time? Quote, Donald Trump is that man, that part of Esau, Rabbi Kessin said. He doesn't know it, and he wouldn't believe it, but he is a messianic figure. End quote. The rabbi clarified this astounding statement. He's not the Messiah, but he will create a paradigm shift, Kessin stated. His mission is transformative. He's going to change America, purify it. God wants to clean up America of all its sins before Mashiach. But what about all the other countries that worship false gods? Huh? Our country's no worse than any other. Give me a break. He says this, the liberals especially have caused an incredible moral decay. This is what Trump really means when he says he wants to make America great again. By announcing to the world that Jerusalem's Israel's eternal capital, President Trump fulfilled Esau's biblical vow. In Genesis 33:9, Esau said, I have enough, my brother. Let what you have remain yours. When he made this declaration, Trump recognized that all of Israel was given to the Jews. He's defending the Jews in front of the world to the point where he is willing to punish them. The rabbi emphasized that when the U.S. stood up for its Jerusalem Declaration in the UN General Assembly, it was the prophesied pre-messianic battle of Gog and Magog. He explained that in Gematria Hebrew numerology, Gog and Magog equals 70. 70 is understood to signify all the nations of the world, since the Bible lists 70 descendants of Noah. Trump defended Israel against the entire world, and that is the prophesied Battle of Gog and Magog, explained Kessin, citing Ezekiel 38:8. After a long time you shall be summoned. In the distant future you shall march against the land of a people restored from the sword, gathered from the midst of many peoples against the mountains of Israel, which have long lain desolate, a people liberated from the nations, and now all dwelling secure. The prophet stated that all the nations will gang up against Jerusalem, and isn't that what they just did in the UN? Kessin said rhetorically, the UN is Gog and Magog. This is all part of Esau doing repentance, becoming great so he can help Israel. And America will become great, Kessin said. God wants America to be prosperous so that they can assist Israel in the next step. Now we know that they've commissioned a crown to give to the Messiah. It's not something he's supposed to wear, but it's just supposed to be a gift to honor him. With the founding of the State of Israel 70 years ago, many believe that the redemption is imminent. Rabbi Yosef Berger, the rabbi of King David's tomb on Mount Zion, in Israel 365 have initiated a special project to create a golden crown to be presented to the Messiah King as a gift upon his arrival in Jerusalem. Now here's what I'm talking about, that each piece of this is like a puzzle piece that all goes together. With them, the Sanhedrin trying to get the whole world under their authority. Creating such a crown, he said, and uniting the 70 nations of the world around the project will hasten the arrival of the king. When all 70 nations unite in an act of love expressly intended for the king in Jerusalem, this will surely be answered by Hashem. So, each little thing, the world concert, they invited the 70 nations, then they invited the 70 nations to the altar sacrifice, the consecration of the altar for the third temple. Now they're commissioning this crown. They already commissioned a Torah scroll to be given to the Messiah. So each little thing is intended to draw all the nations back to Jerusalem to be under the supreme court of the elite Jews of the Sanhedrin. In this generation, when it's clear that the Messiah is imminent, merely waiting to reveal himself, we need to prepare our hearts by performing acts that strengthen our belief, Rabbi Berger said. By preparing an actual crown, we are taking the first step toward bringing the inner vision of a king into reality. The beauty of a true king has not been seen in the world since the exile began, and the prophets assured us that it would return. Back in 2016, Rabbi Yosef Berger looked on as his Torah scroll for the Messiah was completed. Rabbi Shimon ben Monsiah said, "No signs of redemption will be shown to Israel until they seek these three things: the kingdom of heaven, the dynasty of King David, and the building of the temple. Writing a scroll housed on Mount Zion, where King David is interred, and adjacent to the Temple Mount, will accomplish all three goals in one action," the rabbi explained. So, it seems to me that that is exactly where the Republicans held this event for Donald Trump in 2016, and that's when they housed the scroll there. Rabbi Berger also initiated a new, unusual project, a book of Psalms, which were written by King David, handwritten on parchment, When completed, the scroll will be on display in a special case at David's tomb where the public can openly read from it. Reading David's prayers at his burial site will be especially fitting when the Messiah, David's descendant, finally arrives. So if the rabbis are saying that Donald Trump has a role to play in the future, and that this event happened above King David's tomb, where they put this special Messiah scroll, and that Donald Trump did what King David did to set up his kingship, then we're putting all these pieces together to see where this leads. I found this information on Jewish website, the mitzvah to guard the temple. It's a mitzvah to station guards around the temple, just as a king would have guards around his palace. Not that we have to protect God, for he is mightier than any army. Rather, we station guards to show him honor. Every night, 24 guards would take up their positions around the temple. The Kohanim, temple priests, stood guard inside, and the 21 Levites stood guard on the outside. In the time of Mashiach, when the temple will be rebuilt, even non-Jewish nations will send their armies to protect the holy temple so that the Jews can perform their service there in peace to the benefit of the whole world. Now, isn't that fascinating? Because, you know, when John was taken up to heaven, he saw the 24 elders at the temple of God in heaven. And are they guarding the palace to honor the king? That's pretty fascinating. But now you can see where it says, you know, that these armies, different armies in the world will come to protect the holy temple of different nations, so that they can perform their service in peace. And that all plays a role in what's going to come with the Antichrist and everything.